And good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric Perugini. I'm here with Chris Lahiff and Patrick Hausman as part of, as always, the Philly podcast presented by CEVsports.com. And we are brought to you today live, powered by the StreamYard.com. And today we have two very special guests with us. And we are coming to you guys live. And we have from, like I said, over the pond, we got Greg and Callum of the Brits Guide to the NFL. Their Twitter is at Brits Guide NFL. And we reached out to them a couple weeks ago, wanted to try and get them on the show to get their take on, basically American football, their teams, what they think of the game, and pretty much just talk with them about football in general and just have a good old-fashioned, international show. So, guys, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thanks for having us, boys. Yeah, we're good.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, very well, thank you.
Great. So, real fast, we'll get into some other stuff, but really quick, we were talking before we went on air, what do you think of this impact now of what Roger Goodell put out, for the NFL about players that aren't vaccinated and the ramifications of games missed, by players and basically forfeiting games if they have to be stopped or anything like that? They're also they're going to lose pay also for that game. So what do you guys think of that?
Do you want to go, Greg, or shall I?
No, fire away, Callum. Go ahead.
No, I thought it was. I mean, it's quite surprising, but I like the fact that they have been quite decisive with it and gone for it. I think, you've seen, Jerry Jones coming out and saying that he wants all of his squad. He's quite keen on vaccinating all his players and stuff. And I think it is obviously a good thing. The more people protected from this, and hopefully, no more disruptions throughout the season. Like you saw with near the end of last season, with it affected the Cleveland Browns quite a lot in the playoffs against the Jets, where the Browns were missing pretty much their whole receiving core. So I think the more people that are protected, it's going to help a lot. Greg, I don't know what you want to say about it.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right about them being decisive early on. I think last year, although the virus was still developing and things were changing all the time, they kind of got to the mid-season and the rules were sort of shifting here and there and week by week, whereas now they've kind of set out the benchmark and what we're going to do, and this is going to happen if X, Y, Z happens. So it's kind of really set the president down and really made sure that everyone is kind of on the same page, or everyone understands where they need to be at. So yeah, it is really interesting. Obviously, it disrupts a lot of the plans that some of the players may have. Some are very anti getting the vaccination, but that will really depend on their personal decisions and how they decide to take it. But at the end of the day, if they want their paycheck, as you say, they may have to end up getting vaccinated and sort of rolling with it. But it's a really interesting debate. As Callum said, it's such a strange thing to try and fathom. But yeah, it's out there now, and it's up to the teams and the players to react to it now.
Chris, you got something to say? Or
no? Listen, I agree. I'm glad that we were having an issue here in Philly because half of the Philadelphia Phillies roster isn't vaccinated, and that's their choice. Unfortunately, it's costing the team some wins. And with the Phillies having they're 47 and 47, so they still got some games left, and they can't afford to have these players out because they don't want to get the COVID shot. If they don't want to get the vaccine, that's their decision. We're not here to judge anybody. I don't judge anybody on anything. But at the end of the day, you have to look. As a player, you have to look at yourself what's more important to you. Is it the vaccine or is it playing baseball? And if you don't feel safe with getting the vaccine, I know a lot. I know the sports media is going to rip the players because they didn't get the vaccine, but it's their choice. And I personally don't think their information should be out about who got the vaccine and who didn't. That's their call. Who are we to judge anybody on getting a shot? We don't know why they can't get a shot. I personally know somebody who can't get the vaccine due to underlying issues they have. So they want to get it, but they can't because it'll hurt them, legitimately hurt them. So they're not going to take that risk. They'll wear their mask, they'll clean their hands. Although I don't understand why people weren't cleaning their hands before COVID. I don't know what people were doing before then. The whole toilet paper towels, and hand sanitizer had me baffled for months as opposed to what we were doing before that. But they're going to take the precautions because they're not eligible. They can't get the vaccine because there's a slight chance it can hurt them. But like I said, I don't think the players' information should be put out there because at the end of the day, they're still human beings. Like there's, I don't care how much money they make. Like I always go back to they're still human beings. I don't care how much money they have. They still have feelings. They're still stuff's still gonna bother them. Like, so who are we to judge them? Like that again, it's my opinion. I could be 100% wrong, but that's how I look at it. I think if anybody else wants to feed off that, go right ahead.
I mean, as far as for putting information out there, if the team's putting information out there about the players, I mean, that's definitely a violation of HIPAA rules. And in the United States, you can't do that. So how they're going to be able to disclose that somebody hasn't gotten the vaccine or not, that you really can't. So they'll be announcing medical history, out there. I mean, I understand they do that with injury reports, but they generally have the person's authorization there. I highly doubt that anybody's going to want that information out there with regard to the vaccine. The second thing is, too, and with regard to anything that the league decides, it's going to go through the PA. So if the Players Association, they get enough people that say, we're not going to get the vaccine, the PA is going to fight them, and this is going to be stopped. There's going to be an injunction, and they're going to have to battle it out in court. And to be honest, I mean, the precedent in the United States is really my body, my choice. If somebody doesn't want to get it, they're not going to get it. And I don't think that another entity can force you to sign those rights away. So ultimately, I think if it goes to court, I think Roger Goodell's really doing this as a PR thing. So he could say, hey, you know what, guys, I tried. I wanted to make sure that I checked all the boxes here, and we got the season in, and I tried to force everybody's hand. But ultimately, if it goes to court, I don't see them winning. I think the players are going to win that because, again, you can't sign your right away. You can't be denied work based on, you not getting a shot. There's legal precedents here, and I don't see that being able to. I don't see the NFL being able to override that. Even as much money as they have, I don't see them being able to get past that in court.
Yeah, I agree, Patrick. It's like you said about HIPAA law and everything. Like the only way we found out that players last year had COVID, and they were missing time was because they let it get out there. But now you're talking some, like, this is personal information, and around the world everything is public perception. So if it's out there that these guys aren't getting vaccinated, then now they're going to be vilified by everybody. And I mean, personally, I know it's someone's individual right whether they want the vaccine or not, and either way is fine with me. It's your right to do that. But if you're playing if you're in a high profile sport like this, I think there should be something brought up where, you kind of need to get this if you want to get a paycheck, and that's what the NFL is basically saying right now. Like, hey, look, if you miss time because of this, you're going to be docked pay. And I mean, is it? Some people can say, well, is that wrong of them to do, or what? They're a private business. They can do what they want. Just leave it up to the players to take that risk. Do I risk lose pay? Do I risk getting my franchise fined? Is my owner going to be mad? So it's, is my boss going to be mad? My coaches. So it's a fine line that we're running against right now, like all over the place. Like with baseball now football. I mean, because I think it was said that like Chris, like you said, for the Philadelphia Phillies, it's like 80% of the team isn't vaccinated, which I find that to be amazing at this point in time, especially with how far we are into this whole virus, whole thing. So, but go ahead, man. Anybody else got something?
I want to pick off of what you said about not paying them. While that might be what the NFL is ultimately going to do, there's no way the Players Association is going to allow that, because people are getting paid for having COVID and not going to work because they got sick, or they had COVID, they had symptoms of COVID, so they got sick. So they were told to stay home. Now, in the same sense, it's going to be, listen, if you have COVID, we're going to pay you, but you're going to have to stay home. There's no way the Players Union is going to be like, yeah, you don't have to pay them. unless the players' union like completely flips their switch or something. But I personally can't see that happening. And to find an organization, again, if Pat had alluded to earlier, like if you bring that up in a court of law, I believe the organization would win 100 out of 100 times. And again, my opinion, I could be 100% wrong, but yeah, that's a hard sell for anybody.
I think as well, like if you look at like Greg will know this as well, like if you look at Premier League teams, so like soccer teams here, like the amount of power like organizations and player associations have in terms of like whether it's trades or any off-field issues, like it's just incredible. Like it always overwhelms the league itself and the commissioners or whatever. Like the organizations always win because ultimately that's where the power lies. And I think it's an interesting dynamic between the two. But going back to what you said about the Phillies as well, like it did shock me when I saw that the other day. And you lose Bryce Harper, you lose JT, then things are not looking good. So yeah, I don't know if you want to say any more, Greg, on that, but yeah, I think it's quite interesting, the whole debate that it's creating. But I do understand what you guys are saying as well.
Yeah,
Greg.
So go ahead, Greg.
I don't have anything. No, I think Callum said it all. Really, has said some really good points being raised. But yeah, it's a very difficult and delicate situation at the minute, isn't it? It's very hard to say for definite which way it will go and how people will react to it. But we'll see in the next couple of weeks how it develops and how players kind of go with that.
So you bring up soccer, and can we just bring up the fact that England during the Euro Cup, they lost a lot of players, and they didn't even miss a beat. They didn't even miss a beat. Like they're just full of superstars, and it's insane how good England was in the Euro Cup.
We're still pretty heartbroken about that loss.
I still haven't eaten pasta or pizza yet. I don't think I can bring myself to do it
like that. Yeah, I mean, look at that team on paper, and Greg will probably say like it's one of the most talented teams in the Euros. Like at youth level, and like just some of the young players that we're producing in this country at the minute is unbelievable compared to like the other top teams. Germany or Spain or Italy. England is like right up there with talent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just like I said, I was amazed that I just remember being in a bar in Nashville and seeing the alert that so and so is going to miss and so and so is going to miss, and because of contact tracing, and I'm like, oh crap! I'm like, this is really bad for England, and it really wasn't.
Yeah, the depth was really impressive, wasn't it? As I say, yeah, we surpassed all of our expectations, I think, in the depth and the way that everyone stepped up and played well. So, yeah, it was a very interesting and difficult tournament, but I think we did very well in what we had.
Yeah, I mean, you lost in a shootout, so you guys did pretty good for losing guys for a couple of games.
Yeah,
always a penalty shootout.
So I know we're going to talk football, but I just want to know what were your thoughts on the Euro Cup final? I don't know if anybody else watched it. I did. I watched that. I'm at a pool membership, and we're watching this on like this big screen TV, and there's like 13 guys are all watching it because we all like soccer. But was it heartbreaking?
Yeah,
rip your gut?
I think because like for a long time now, like the England national team has struggled to captivate like England fans. It's been quite separated from the media. The fan over the years, like when you look back at previous England teams, like we've not really had a relationship with the team as much, like with team interaction and stuff. But I think over the last couple of years, with what Southgate's done and the squad, like there seems to be he seems to cultivate a more intimate dynamic between the fans and the players. And I think that's why people are so heartbroken, is because like the whole country was united for 4 weeks or whatever it was, and then just to see him fall short was quite disappointing. But I think for sure, looking forward, we're going to be up there again, whether it's the World Cup next year or the Euros going forward as well.
Yeah,
and kind of. Sorry, go on, Chris.
No, go, Greg.
Oh, I was just going to echo what Callum said and basically say, like, obviously, it's been a pretty difficult year or so with restrictions and lockdown, that sort of thing. And I think the media really picked up on it, that the outlook for everyone was kind of the European Championships and looking at that team as you know, a real bit of hope. And a lot of the time, it's ironic that we're, you know, singing, you know, it's coming home and all that sort of stuff and getting a bit excited about it. But this time it actually was. And I think they really rallied around it and gave us as much insight into the camp and the players and all that sort of stuff. So everyone kind of climbed on board and really, as Callum said, like, united everyone in what's been a pretty difficult sort of 18 months. So yeah, it was a really great thing that happened over the summer. And although it didn't end in the way that we wanted to, and there was some tears at the end, I think it was overall a very good experience.
Right, and that's and I'll piggyback, and we'll go back to the NFL talk, because that's what sports does. It brings literally everyone together. Like, you know, there's when you look at your team and like. For when you see, you know, for us it was the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, and you know I celebrated on Frankfurt and Cotman, and at that time, you know, I wasn't, you know, a white guy from Northeast Philly. I was a Philadelphia Eagles fan, hugging random people on the street. It didn't matter their race, we were all in it together, and that's the one thing that I love about sports. It brings everyone together. You know, like if the Sixers would have like played and Ben Simmons would have played his game, you know, I honestly think the parade might have been bigger if the Sixers had won. And there was a lot of people at the Eagles parade, but it would have been a summer parade, you know, that we would be getting ready for in 2 days. But unfortunately, it didn't pan out that way.
Yeah, I think like when you looked at like how well the Sixers did like in the regular season, and then you're thinking like, oh, the playoff run's quite easy, and then they end up getting, you know, thrown out by the Hawks. I don't think many people expected that, you know, for how good Trae Young is, but like no one really expected him to bounce out that early. So I think that was the most disappointing thing. And obviously Ben Simmons, it's hard. Like I'm a bit of a Ben Simmons fan because I think Ben Simmons was like one of the guys that made me become a Sixers fan. Like I followed his career in college when I was just starting to get into the NBA. A couple of guys who I know over here told me to watch out for Ben Simmons, like in the draft and stuff. So I followed his journey from the beginning. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens this off season and moving forward. There's been a lot of trade rumors flying about, and yeah, we'll see.
Oh yeah, I definitely think he's getting traded. I really do.
Yeah.
After that performance of all those, you know, taking 3 shots in the fourth quarter of that playoff round, and then and then passing on that wide open layup or dunk, whatever he could have done. I don't see any way how the Sixers can bring him back after that, and the fan base. I mean, because I'm sure you guys have heard about the Philadelphia fan base. We're pretty legendary. There's no way they can bring this guy back, and if they do, it's going to be a riot down at Broad and Patterson. So I'd love to see him come back if he actually had a good game. It really worked on it, but I don't see it happening.
I think you're right. Go on.
He's 24 years old. Let's not forget that. But go ahead. That's all I have to say.
Yeah,
age has nothing to do with it. Age has nothing to do with it, Chris. Age has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I think the most frustrating part about it is, like you said, like, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but like he doesn't seem like a Philly guy. Like, I think the most frustrating thing about it was watching him in press conferences and like not really admitting to his like failures, or it was a bit like Carson, a bit like he said he was going to get better, but he's not really put that work into, you know, I mean, I've seen clips of him like hitting threes from, you know, way downtown, but like, I don't know whether it's psychological or, you know, we all know he's probably not going to be an elite shooter, but like the fact that he's not willing to put the work in and try and work on it, or at least, you know, take it on in games and stuff, then I think that's the most frustrating part about it. Tell me if I'm wrong, guys. That's just the way I saw it.
So Philadelphia, I didn't mean to cut you off, Eric, if you were going to talk, but Philadelphia is a large city. It's the 5th largest city in America, I think, at this point still. But it's a large city that has a very small city feel. And the reason why is because we're a town of neighborhoods. So everybody kind of takes on that small city feel. Hardworking, you know, middle class, working class. People in the city like athletes that will endear themselves to the city. So guys like Joel Embiid, who is Cameroonian, came over here. He would go hang out at random spots in Philly, mingle with the fans. He's vacationing down Jersey Shore, which is like an hour away. Again, choosing to mingle with fans. He'll hang out at places. He'll show up to the bar in his jersey after the game. Like, people love that. They eat it up in a town like this. Ben Simmons, his shtick, like dating Kardashians, hanging out in LA in the off season, doesn't want anything to do with Philadelphia. And he's not like working class. Like, a working class guy gets the ball in the post like that with Trae Young in his face. He wants to dunk it and then kick him into the third row. That guy passed it up. Philly does not like cowards. That's a coward move. That's something that nobody in this town respected. That was pretty much him writing his check to get his ass out of here. That was the last straw for him getting the hell out of town for me. And I defended the guy up until the playoffs. Like, I kind of got on him a little bit about his free throws. But after I saw that, like, I can't root for a coward. I just can't. And, like, a Tiger ain't going to change its stripes at this point. If he's a coward, he's going to stay a coward. He's not like Kobe. Kobe offered him advice, offered to help him. He turned it down. And no idiot would ever turn down Kobe Bryant's advice. It's a guy who's a 5-time champ. Nobody who wants to win would ever do that. So for me, it's like, bye, dude. I don't want you in my town. I don't want you. I hope somebody else really wants you, so that way we can pawn you off and we can get something out of it. I know a lot of people are saying, well, if you think Ben Simmons stinks, why do you think another team's going to take him? I said, I don't think he stinks. I'm just hoping we can fleece somebody. I mean, Christ, we've gotten fleeced enough in trades. I'm hoping we can fleece somebody because that will get something in return back for the guy. But like I said, not a winner, never going to win a championship, never going to help us win a championship, I should say. So, see ya. Goodbye.
Yeah, and Patrick and I have talked about this before. I told Patrick I was out on Ben Simmons when he said, I am who I am. And that told me right there that he's just happy with being an all-star. Well, you know what? Teams that have just all-stars don't win championships. If you have superstars, elite players, max players, you win championships. To me, he doesn't show the heart to do it. And I mean, it's a shame because I was defending the guy for a long time. I know Chris was defending him for a long time. And he just, the three of us all were like, okay, look, time to go. It's, and like Chris joked, and I said, I can't go with, he's only 24. 24 don't mean nothing. It doesn't. If his game hasn't developed by this time, when it's actually regressed, when it goes to his shooting and his free throws, something's wrong. It's not working here. I mean, people say that we're too hard on players. We backed Markelle Fultz. We were happy when he took a shot and made it. They had a standing ovation for this kid scoring I think it was a 2-point shot, and everyone cheered for the kid. And then he went right back to doing what Markelle Fultz did, and he wound up being out of here. And it's a shame. I mean, I look at this process and I see we have multiple number 1 overall picks, and in my eyes, they pretty much both failed. And how do you do that? I don't know how you do that. So, go ahead, Chris. You got to turn your mic on. Chris.
Yeah, I know. I forgot I muted myself. So, all right. So, I hate that we're talking about Ben Simmons and all that. But if we didn't go through the process and lose all those games, have those 3 bad seasons, would we be having this conversation? Me personally, I don't think so. Only because, what if Milwaukee gave up on Giannis?
Yeah, but Giannis hasn't gone backwards. Yeah, there is a but. Giannis has not gone backwards. Giannis is now an NBA champion.
He is now, but he struggled last year in the playoffs. He struggled the year before in the playoffs when they were eliminated.
Chris, the only argument there is he's an NBA champion, and Ben Simmons is about to get traded for going 3-0 for taking 3 shots in the fourth quarter of a playoff series. No, you don't get what I'm saying.
I do get what you're saying, but you're saying because he's an NBA champion. But he wasn't an NBA champion until 48 hours ago.
But you know the difference between last year's Giannis and last year's Ben Simmons? Giannis was, still, and is, and always will be better than Ben Simmons. That's the point.
I think he's more willing to work on his game as well. Like you said, like when Ben Simmons comes out and says stuff like, "I am who I am," like how can you really get behind that and back that? Like, if he's not willing to put in the work and actually do something about it, then they're not really comparable.
All right,
Well, exactly. It's not comparable, and this is why it's not comparable. All right, on the Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo is Batman. All right, Chris Middleton is Robin. On the Sixers, Joel Embiid's Batman. His Robin ain't even a Robin. Like Ben Simmons ain't even a Robin. You get the ball, Chris. Like if Batman's struggling with the Bucks, you get the ball in Robin's hands. He's sinking threes late in fourth quarter. Chris Middleton was clutch in this series, and Drew Holiday was clutch too. Couple games where I was like, damn, Drew Holiday has missed a shot. He was went through. He had that supporting case around, and B really didn't have that. He had Seth Curry. Seth Curry was clutch throughout the playoffs. Harris disappeared and Simmons disappeared. So the comparison, if you're going to compare Embiid, the comparison there is Giannis, and that's what it is to me. It's not Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons, like I said, he's the supporting cast here. He's the second guy.
And I think when you go,
so why aren't we talking about trading Tobias Harris as well?
I am
because
I want to trade both of them.
Because my thing is this: Tobias Harris scored 4 points in one of those games that they lost. He turned the ball over in one of those games they lost. He got blocked twice in the last 2 minutes on layups in one of those games they lost.
There's two reasons why they're not.
Hold on, max players don't do that. They don't. It's not. And as much as I blame Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris and Doc Rivers have to get the blame as well as too. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. As Tobias Harris is not catching as much heat as he should be, and Ben Simmons, he's getting the heat, but he is getting nowhere near the heat that our former quarterback got. Like our former quarterback is still in our fans' heads. Think about the heat that Ben Simmons got, and it's nowhere compared to the Carson Wentz heat.
But you know what though? First off, those two guys, and along with our former quarterback, I don't know if you guys, how long have you guys been following the NFL? I know
I've been following it for about 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
I've been for about 2 or 3. Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of years ago, we had a quarterback in this town. His name was Donovan McNabb. Donovan McNabb won a lot of games for the Eagles. Took the Eagles to a Super Bowl. Donovan McNabb was one of those guys that never really endeared himself to the fans, and he made a lot of comments. They were kind of passive aggressive. Whereas again, this town is more of a let's at least confront the issue and let's have a serious talk. Let's not beat around the bush. That guy was famous for beating around the bush, and a lot of people, even though he won a lot of games and he might be the best quarterback in team history, nobody really liked the guy. And both these, Carson Wentz and Ben Simmons both kind of have that same aspect to him. Like Ben Simmons, you're never going to get a straight answer from. He kind of just is aloof with a lot of things. And he's not going to give you, he's not going to give you that chip on the shoulder, working class answer. And Carson Wentz was kind of the same way. Carson Wentz had a problem with something. The media was telling people that there was a problem with Carson Wentz, or a teammate was coming out and saying that there was a problem with Carson Wentz. And then they would ask Carson, he would smile and say, "Oh no, there's no problem." Well, why is everybody talking about it? So it was kind of like that little backstabbing, passive-aggressive attitude that really didn't endear to the fans here at all. They don't like that. And like you said, that's not in their blood. So that's why that to me really stuck out. And I see a lot of that same similarities with Ben Simmons. You get stuff that's leaking out that the players in the locker room really don't like him at all either. And that's what you saw with Carson Wentz here. And I think that kind of, that ruined them for the fans. And I think that criticism is legit. And we saw it with McNabb too with Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens, everybody liked him. Terrell Owens was a guy, he didn't like some of his antics, but at least he was straight with you. You knew where he was coming from. And I think that's why a lot of people sided with him. It's just a personality thing.
I think as well, like one of the most frustrating things, like you said, was the fact that last year when it was all going wrong, like Carson never came out on social media or whatever and like said anything. He never wanted to, resurrect his career or anything. Like it was always, smile and, I'm going to get better next week. But you never really saw that from him. Whereas, you watch Jalen Hurts' press conferences and he seems a lot more sort of accountable and he's willing to, we all know how hard he works, through the off season and stuff. And that's why I think the fans might get on board more with Jalen Hurts just because of his attitude, and I think he's probably more of a natural leader than Carson ever was as well. Like you said, like reports coming out that the locker room was divided when Carson was under center, and I mean, me and Greg always speak about Carson on our podcast, and Greg probably gets quite sick of me going on about him all the time.
Yeah, I don't mention him. It's just you. Just you ranting about him.
Well, let me ask. I mean, did you guys notice last year? So, like during the games last year, Jalen Hurts was right next to Doug Peterson. Like it was like he was attached to the hip, and they're constantly talking during the game. You never saw him and Wentz together on the sideline discussing anything, so you knew any person could tell that there was a miscommunication or a rift going on between coach and quarterback. It was very clear, and like nothing ever came, like things would leak out about it, and then like you said, they would ask Carson about it. He would just kind of smile and be like, "Oh no, everything's good." Well, dude, we're smarter than that. Everything's not good. You know what I mean? And the last thing you want to do is BS somebody in this town because they see right through it. So again, they think that, and people don't realize it, or he maybe didn't realize that he thought people loved him more than they loved Doug, but Doug was the quarterback that won, or the coach that won this team a Super Bowl. So Doug was beloved in this town. So I think he in the grand scheme too, I think he kind of overlooked the fact that people probably liked the coach more than they liked him at that point in time too. So
yeah, I think there's obviously something gone on behind closed doors, like the way that even last year where, you know, it was talking like when he was benched, like he was just talking to Press Taylor, the QB coach, and like Jalen Hurts was like the starting QB, and like, you know, any right-minded person, I think, you know, the QB coach would be coaching the QB when he's off the field, but he was talking to Carson instead. So I think the problem stemmed for me from the fact that the front office hero worshipped him after giving him that massive contract extension, and you know, there's reports coming out that there's like massive pictures of Carson in Howie's office and stuff like this, like you know, and then obviously the Jalen Hurts draft pick, I think that obviously, you know, caused a bit of a rift behind closed doors, and that probably led to what happened last year.
All right, so now I am going to go into my Carson Wentz defense. Let's go with a couple things. One, they never surrounded this guy with any talent at all. Like once Alshon Jeffrey got hurt, like after 2017, he was throwing to Greg Ward, Quez Watkins last year, and instead of drafting Justin Jefferson, they drafted a punt returner. Why? Instead of drafting another receiver, they drafted a backup quarterback in the second round. This whole thing was mismanaged, in my opinion, by the Philadelphia Eagles front office. I think I have zero faith in Howie Roseman. You know, you never knew what you had with Doug. I mean, I love Doug. I was a big proponent. Eric will tell you, I was always like, you got to fire him. And I was like, well, if you fire him, he's going to get a job right away, just like Andy Reid did. So, like, he's a Super Bowl winning coach. I was like, I can go with it one more time. But, you know, when Jalen Hurts had the same weapons that Carson Wentz did, Jalen Hurts was not a very good quarterback. He was not good at quarterback. He committed 3 turnovers in the red zone against the Cowboys in one quarter, in the fourth. You know, the argument I always have is the team played better under Jalen Hurts. They went 1-3. The team didn't play better. They still lost 3 games. I don't care if he threw for 450 yards and 6 touchdowns. At the end of the day, I look at wins and losses. They never gave Wentz anything. And instead of going in the second round, and, you know, if the offensive player isn't there, why not draft an offensive lineman in the second round? You can never go wrong with too many linemen. That's how the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017, because they had offensive linemen who could play, who could step up into the game. And another thing is with this town is the sports media. They're terrible in this town. They did nothing but rip this guy for how many, and then they wanted him to talk to the media after he got benched. 1, backup quarterbacks don't talk to the media. 2, especially with COVID. Backup meetings aren't going to talk to the media via Zoom. Like that's a waste of time. Jalen Hurts is a starting quarterback. Now you're just creating a riff. And how Pat was alluding to, Jalen Hurts standing next to Doug Peterson. Carson Wentz might have been standing next to his quarterback, but he was always the first one on the field when he was on the bench, congratulating Hurts, on a touchdown or on a good throw. He was playing the good role of the teammate. And then we in turn turn around and trade him for 2 second-round picks. Like, I'm telling you right now, Carson Wentz is going to be in the top 3 in MVP voting, and they're probably getting to the conference championship game because they almost beat Buffalo with Philip Rivers. They were one play away from getting past Buffalo with 48-year-old Philip Rivers and his 9 kids on the sideline. So, the Carson Wentz hate and the Carson Wentz living rent-free in this town's media, it's literally amazing to me. Someone posted a thing on Twitter the other day that, Carson Wentz, you can't have a bad season in this town. You can't. You cannot have a bad season in this town. And if Ben Simmons would have had the bad season in the regular season as opposed to the playoffs, it might have been much worse. But Carson Wentz is going to be in the top 3 MVP, in my opinion. I think the rankings in the AFC quarterbacks, I think it's Josh Allen, Carson Wentz, and the Justin Herbert from the Chargers. I think Carson Wentz is going to have a bounce back year. I think those 3 quarterbacks are going to rip the NFL apart.
Well, so part of Carson Wentz's success this year is, well, I actually agree. I think the guy needed to change the scenery. He really, once you've worn out your welcome in a town like this, you've lost the fans, you've really lost the front office, and you've lost the media. It's time to go. I mean, you could go out there and you could have, a 13-win season, but without those things behind you, you're going to lose your teammates, which it sounds like he has as well in this town. So he really needed to change the scenery. I think if he stayed here for this year, I think they win 4 or 5 games with him as starting quarterback, whereas I think he can go to the AFC. I think he can win 12 games. They're going to win that division. I don't think Mike Vrabel's really rebuilt that defense in Tennessee like he should. They're going to have a really good offense, but defensively, they're still going to give up a lot of points. Jacksonville with a brand new quarterback, they're going to lose some games. The Texans are probably the worst team in football. So Wentz is going to have a lot of wins this year. He's very familiar with Frank Reich's system. He's not going into a system he doesn't know. He's familiar with what Frank Reich likes to do. Frank Reich knows him. So instead of him trying to find his way through and figure things out those first few games, they're going to jump on teams because he's going to hit the ground running. They're not going to have any film of him with this set of weapons in Indianapolis. So they're going to catch a lot of teams by surprise early and really, really probably kick a lot of ass early on. And then they'll lose some games towards the end of the season. Like I said, probably finish with somewhere around a 12-5 record. And they're going to be maybe a top 2 seed, which correct me if I'm wrong. Are they still doing the 17 format this year? Where only one team's getting the bye. So they won't get a bye or anything. It's going to be a little bit harder for them to get through. But he's going to have a very successful year. Part of that, again, is going to be knowing the system, having really good weapons there, and having the ability of playing in a weak division. But just to talk, I mean, I think the comparison is saying he didn't have weapons when he was here. I mean, I've seen plenty of quarterbacks not have a whole lot of weapons. I think, he had Alshon Jeffrey. Alshon Jeffrey was a Pro Bowl wide receiver.
Not everyone is Tom Brady, and Alshon Jeffrey is a Pro Bowl receiver. But once he got hurt and he won a Super Bowl, he didn't care.
Zach Ertz broke the record for most receptions by a tight end. Goddard was a first-round pick. Rager was a first-round pick. They bought Torrey Smith in for him. Torrey Smith had a good career in Baltimore. They had Miles Sanders. Aguilar just got a big contract with the Pats. I know people hated him in this town. He couldn't catch. He needed to change. He had a hell of a year last year in Oakland. So I don't know that he didn't have the weapons. I've seen other quarterbacks let me throw out Cam Newton when he was in Carolina. He had Greg Olson. That's it. For most of the time he was there. He had Philly Brown, they stunk. That's a guy who, you look at some of the stuff he did, and you're like, wow, he did a lot with not a whole lot.
It's a completely different built quarterback. they had a great defense, and did you really just bring up like Jalen Rager?
He's a first round pick. You can't say that they didn't try.
So was Ryan Leaf. So was Ryan Leaf.
You said that they need to get talent. They did. Now they drafted the wrong guy, but they did use a first round pick to try to get him more talent. They just didn't hit on the pick.
What has Alshon Jeffrey done since Super Bowl 52? Nothing.
Well, he had that was that Liz Frank? Yeah, the Liz Frank fracture.
He had that foot injury,
yeah. Just so you know, he also dropped the pass in the game against New Orleans that cost the Eagles a playoff win, a potential playoff win. That's what Alshon Jeffrey has done. You know,
and now hold on for a second.
And hold on, look what Carson Wentz did the last 6 weeks of 2019.
So
look what he did.
Playoff game. So you bring up the playoff game. It's interesting about that playoff game is that Carson Wentz played the exact same team. I think like 6 weeks before that, and they lost like 52-0. Nick Foles with all the same weapons.
Yes.
Nick Foles with all the same weapons almost won that game.
And you're absolutely right because Carson Wentz gave up 48 points. It was 48-7. Carson Wentz gave up all 48 points.
They still put points on the board.
Exactly the point.
They still put points on the board with the same weapons. They had a chance to win that game.
They put up 14 points. They put up. Nick Foles got one more touchdown. You're not. I know you're not an Eagles fan, so please do not bring Nick Foles. Nick Foles is a terrible quarterback. He's had 6 good games in his career. Please do not bring up Nick Foles. He is the backup. He is the third string quarterback on the Bears.
You said how many games? 6. I don't know. He won 27-2, and then did win a Super Bowl. So I think it's a little more than 6. But
it is 6 good games. He had 2. He had 4 in 20. I'm sorry. He had 3 in 2013. He had 1 in 2012 his rookie year, and the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. That's it. I pulled up the stats. I've already had this argument earlier in the week because the new banner went up with Nick Foles' hand, which everyone's like they're trolling Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz doesn't care about Philadelphia. Nick Foles doesn't care about Philadelphia anymore. Nick Foles is a Chicago Bear, a third-string quarterback, by the way. The great Nick Foles. The Folesian Society.
So, yes. So I saw Callum.
Yes, go to Eric because I'm getting angry.
Kind of when Nick Foles got brought up, you kind of went. So what's your thoughts on Nick Foles then?
Oh man, it's hard, isn't it? I mean, whenever Nick Foles gets brought into conversation, I have to hold my tongue a bit because he's my guy, you know. I think he's the most important QB in franchise history. Like the guy won the only Super Bowl. Like as much as you want to say, like he had 6 good games, like they're the 6 most important games.
Oh, I love Nick Foles, and I will get a Nick Foles Super Bowl 52 jersey. But
yeah.
I don't know how they talk in Britain about Nick Foles and Carson Wentz, but you
probably not a lot.
Over here, Nick Foles is a god. Nick Foles is a starting quarterback over Carson Wentz. They've lobbied for him to start. But then in the same sentence, they've lobbied for Nick Foles to come back to Philadelphia and be the backup to Jalen Hurts. That is what we deal with in Philadelphia. You know, Eric has a nickname for those fans. But that's where we're at. Is Nick Foles is good enough to start over Carson Wentz, but he's going to be the backup to Jalen Hurts. There is, again, it goes back to no logic. It's just fans thinking with their heart. And I will go back to Super Bowl 52, the NFC Championship game. He threw 7 touchdowns against Oakland. He threw 4 touchdowns against Green Bay. And he beat Tampa Bay his rookie year. I forget the other game. Those were I know he had 7 touchdowns and he had 4 touchdowns against the Green Bay team against Aaron Rodgers. He's got 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and then the league called up to him the next year. And then he threw an interception his first game.
2 other names I want to throw out there too that they brought in to help with Wentz. LeGarrette Blount, multiple-time Super Bowl champ. They bought in and tried to help him with the run game. And they even bought what was the name of the Brit that they bought in that used to play for the Dolphins? Jay. Yep. So they did bring guys in to try to help him. He was not by himself this entire time.
No, I'm not talking about 2017. I'm talking about later. I said since Super Bowl 52.
Well, you got to understand, but this is what
you don't have to understand anything. They didn't replenish him. They gave us Wendell Smallwood, Corey Clement.
They fell into the trap that every team falls into except for the Patriots. They won a Super Bowl with a certain amount of guys. It's true. No, it's true. They
had to throw the Patriots in there.
No, because it's actually referenceable here. What happens and we saw it with the Phillies in baseball. guys win a championship. You stay loyal to your guys. You re-sign people. A lot of times you should just say, "Hey, thanks for the ring. You're out," and you should let them walk because they're not gonna live up to the contract that you just paid them. Their stock's high at this point. They just helped you win a Super Bowl, and you're gonna pay them like their stock's high. When the best option generally is to get a same guy where you can pay him a couple $1 million less, and he's going to produce better for you because then you can go bring other guys in here. And a lot of teams, they end up hamstringing themselves because they overpay, and then they're up against the cap, and then they need to let other guys walk, and you can't replace them a lot of times unless if you hit in the draft, which they didn't do. And that's really what happened to the Eagles. The Eagles got old fast. They gave a lot of guys bad contracts. They kept them around. Alshon Jeffrey has a broken foot. And you just gave him a big contract extension. And that's why they couldn't move him last year. And that's part of the problem that you deal with when you win. It's very hard to stay relevant in the NFL, and teams find that out. That's why in the day of parity, it's the Patriots were a rare thing.
So he was given that contract extension during the 2017 season, and then it comes out that he played the last 6 games and the playoffs with a torn labrum.
Yeah.
Like, how is that not ever brought up? Like, I'm glad Alshon Jeffrey, again, I always have love for him. He won us a Super Bowl. He had a great catch. But that to me, that's being selfish. And I get it. NFL is not for long. But, like, no one talks about how, excuse my French, how much of a dick Alshon Jeffrey was. Like, he really was. At the end of the day, no one liked him. There isn't, the only people who liked Alshon Jeffrey hated Carson Wentz.
Well, to get off topic for a minute, DeAndre Hopkins has taken a stance on this new rule that Roger Goodell has put out. He tweeted about almost an hour ago, "Never thought I would say this, but being put in a position to hurt my team because I don't want to partake in the vaccine is making me question my future in the NFL." And he since deleted the tweet, but that's what he put out there. So he actually is contemplating retirement over this new ruling by Roger Goodell.
That's a damn shame, too, because that guy is the best wide receiver in football for my money.
Yep. I just wanted to see, what do you two gentlemen think? Karen, Greg?
I mean, as obviously everyone's going to have their own opinions. It's pretty strong from the Andre Hopkins there. Obviously, Cole Beasley, the Bills wide receiver, has been very outspoken as well. But he made a really interesting point the other day about how even those that are vaccinated will be tested once a week, but that would be like a Monday, for example, and the player could test negative, and then the Tuesday he catches it and then passes it around. So I'm not saying either way is right, but I'm just saying he made he's got a lot of points to back it up, and he's very solid and set in his ways. So there will be players that are, they're very sure on what they're doing, and they're testing every day, or they're testing in their own system to make sure that they are COVID free every day or every couple of days. So it'll be really interesting. I don't really see him retiring over this, but I feel like he'll definitely use it as a bargaining chip with the Players Association and that sort of thing. I'm pretty sure I think it might have been Matt Judon tweeted about the NFLPA sucks or something, which really made me laugh. So there's definitely some sort of conversations that really need to happen with the players and the NFLPA to try and build their bargaining power if they can, because a lot of the players do seem to be on their own path and trying to do it their own way, really.
Well, this is the opportunity, Greg, I feel like, for the NFLPA to really kind of flex their muscle. They're the weakest of all the Players Associations in the four major sports here. They seem like that they have the least amount of bargaining power. They're one sport that doesn't have the guaranteed contracts, and they just seem like they always, kind of curtail to what the Goodell or what the commissioner is saying. So they probably are given their standard weak stance, and maybe that's why Matt Judon is upset about that. But hopefully if enough players get behind them, we can kind of see a little bit of a change here, because I'd like to see Goodell strip to kind of his power a little bit more. I don't think it's right that there's certain things about him that I don't think are right, like him being able to hear, after he suspends somebody, hearing the POI, stuff like that doesn't sit right with me. So, again, hopefully this is an opportunity for the Players Association to actually, for once, step up and try to help the players here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that, Callum?
No, I think it's always going to, like Greg said, it's always going to spark conversation. I mean, going back to discussion of QBs, Greg, it must be nice to not have this QB controversy in Buffalo.
It's been a while since we've had that,
Yeah.
Very true. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, because like Chris alluded to, he said like the three quarterbacks that he thought were going to tear it up in the AFC were Wentz, Justin Herbert, and your guy Josh Allen, which
Mhm.
I was very from a fantasy
I love-
football perspective.
I love that
I
kid.
yeah, I mean I stayed away from him because the year before he didn't. No, he was like I try to stay away from the young quarterbacks for the first few years, but then he came out of nowhere last year and just blew it up. And I was like, wow. I was like, so now he's on my radar.
Is
What's up,
Trubisky the
Chris?
backup?
Yeah. Trubisky is the backup, yeah.
Oh,
And then Jake
Fromm.
Fromm.
Jake Fromm.
Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, former Georgia Bulldog.
I had Josh Allen last year. I had him and I had Herbert for my fantasy league. They're the only concern I have though with Allen, and same thing with Newton and them guys. It's always when he puts the ball down, he runs, and that's always the thing. You always run the risk, But he's a big guy, A guy like Lamar Jackson, I have a little bit more concern about because he's a smaller guy. You look at a guy like very comparable, Michael Vick. Michael Vick got a lot of injuries, but Michael Vick was 6 foot tall and 195 pounds. Josh Allen, he's what 6'6", 240.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got a little bit more padding there, but other than that, I mean, like, shoot, they had a really good rebuild. It took them a while, but I mean, talk about weapons in the offense. They finally got a running back now, and getting Stephen Diggs. I always thought that him and Thielen were kind of on the same page, but after last year, I mean, that guy, he was a top 3 wide receiver last year. It really was. Like I said, they disappointed me a little bit in the AFC Championship game when they got up in the lead. I thought that they had actually a shot, but sometimes it takes teams. Well, you know what though, and I'm not ragging on you. Sometimes it takes losses like that for teams to learn how to win. And the Chiefs went through that. They lost before they won too, and that's generally every team. So I do expect them to be a tough out this year for any team that's playing them in the playoffs, and they're going to have a good year. Yeah,
certainly. I think, as you say, it's one of those losses that unfortunately will make us stronger, hopefully. It definitely helped Dable, Frazier and McDermott reassess and work out where we needed to strengthen to really kind of maintain leads, as you say, or really, have that kind of fast offense that the Chiefs have, because it's just so hard to stop when they have all these players with elite speed and elusive ability and stuff like that, as well as Mahomes. So we're really trying to build it. As you say, it's been a long time. I was very lucky that when I first went to Buffalo and started following the team was when they made the playoffs, and then Deshaun Watson went absolutely nuts in that playoff game. So I haven't really seen the QB carousel before, but from speaking to lots of other Buffalo fans, it's been an absolute nightmare, and I'm really glad that someone like Josh Allen is finally here to make it entertaining and exciting. And as you say, his progression in the last couple of years has been unbelievable.
I'm going to go Bills, Colts, and Chiefs. That's going to be 1, 2, 3. I think the Chiefs are going to get the 3 seed. I think that the league is caught up to Mahomes. Not saying he's not good, but I know that there were injuries across that offensive line in the Super Bowl. But Cleveland exposed them a little bit. In that playoff game, like they showed how they could be beat. If it wasn't for a ballsy play from Andy Reid with Matt Moore or whoever the backup quarterback was, because Mahomes went out hurt.
It was Matt Moore.
Yeah, so if it wasn't for a ballsy play by Andy Reid, we wouldn't even be talking about the Chiefs having the opportunity to repeat.
Right. Exactly.
No, I have a question for Greg, being a Bills fan, and
yeah.
Now, did you go to a lot of games at Orchard Park?
I only managed to get to one. I went to the Broncos game when I was out there. Yeah.
So is the Mafia as crazy as the videos depict? People going through tables, people going through flaming tables, people getting body slammed on thumbtacks. I mean, what is I saw one where a guy was wearing a luchador mask and jumped through a table off of like a bus and broke his leg, and then they probably went to work the next day. That's what they do in Buffalo. I don't think there's a lot of brain cells left in Buffalo at the moment. Definitely a lot of people flying through tables and stuff. I didn't see many flaming tables, but there was definitely a couple of people breaking tables, barbecuing, all sorts of stuff. But there was, absolute carnage, to be honest. The people outside, real festival sort of atmosphere. And we found a guy who had like a whole bus that he'd converted into like a bar. And was just handing out free shots, and it was just kind of everyone was. This is about 4 hours before the game as well, so really so different from anything I've experienced in the UK or have at any sporting event. It was absolutely unbelievable. And as you say, the Bills Mafia are kind of notorious for being a bit raucous. So it was really good fun.
Absolutely amazing.
Their like
And-
main fan is that dude Pinto Ron, who rolls up in like a '73 Pinto. Yeah. Like he grills them garden rakes and stuff, and then like apparently they spray him with mustard and ketchup. It's like this big tradition. Like he hasn't missed a game I think since the '90s. So like even though they're a rival, like I hate the Dolphins. I hate the Jets with a passion. I even hate the Ravens. The Bills, though, like I said, I always kind of crack up with their fans. You can't. Their fans have like a Philly feel to them. Like I said, it's a smaller town, cold weather. They just seem like they like to party and have a good time. So, like I said, I can't hate them. I hate when we play them on those days, but I always go through Barstool Sports on Monday morning and kind of flip through the videos because I like to see the Bills fans doing all kinds of crazy shit. Like guy on fire and he's like giving people high fives and they're putting that with beer and stuff. You know, cracks me up. You know.
Well, I can actually attest to it. I was a good buddy of mine is a Green Bay Packers fan, and for Christmas, his wife got him 2 tickets to go see the Packers play the Bills up in Buffalo, New York. So I was the lucky friend that got to go with him, and I was also, I was all decked out in my Eagles stuff, but I went to the game, and the tailgate was amazing. It was, you want to call it debauchery and just, whatever. Anything that could be broken was getting broken. I didn't understand the point of it. And I'm walking through the tailgate. I'm looking at him. I'm looking at my buddy Steve, and I said, yo, dude, like, I've been to, like, many tailgates. I was like, but this is not tailgating. I said, this is, like, just a bunch of people that own a clean-out business just destroying a parking lot. Like, I didn't understand what was going on. We saw a guy who, like Greg said, he had his own bar. Well, after he ran out of alcohol from giving out shots and beers, they set the damn bar on fire. I was like, what?
I'm not taking that home. Get out of here.
And he looked at us, and I said to him, I said, why did you just destroy your bar? That's a perfectly good bar. And he goes, I'll be back in 2 weeks with another one. He said, I never go into the games. I stay outside, so I need a bonfire to stay warm. I was like, what? I was like, you destroyed a bar to stay warm. I was like, okay, I'm done. I was like,
I love seeing the videos, like you said, on Barstool, is as the fans are getting on the airplane and you just see the tables going up the runway to get on the plane, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Well, when we played that Texans playoff game, I'm pretty sure in Houston, like, all of the supermarkets ran out of tables. They were sold out of tables, which was a real strange one. But yeah, as you say, it's like absolute carnage. Everyone gets involved. Everyone is just destroying stuff. It's almost like an outdoor smash room or something. It's carnage.
I love that they love the Zubaz pants too. Like I can't find Zubaz anything. But and like I understand why they all love it. I mean, when Zubaz came out, it was the '90s. It was like the heyday of the Bills. That was the K-Gun Bills. So like people probably held on to that stuff. But like some of it's got to be new. I mean, they're not wearing clothes from 25 years ago, so they're picking them up somewhere. But like I saw like a couple got married, and like their framing for like where they got married was the red and blue Zubaz, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, there's a guy I worked with.
So Kyle, who are you a fan of?
Me, I'm an Eagles fan.
I was going to say, he's Philly everything, I could tell.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, like, Greg, like, in some ways it's quite similar to, like, soccer, like pre-match sort of, like, fans do sort of go mad in England, like, whether it's going into pubs and, like just starting massive fights with, like, opposition fans. Because I guess, like in American sports, like, all the like, both sets of fans are seated in the same sort of sections, aren't they? Whereas in, English soccer stadiums, like, the away fans are separated. So, I mean, in some ways it's quite similar, but then there is that, difference as well. So, I mean, obviously Greg went to, so we're both at uni. Well, Greg's finished now, but I'm in my last year at uni, and Greg did his second year in Buffalo. So, I mean, like, even just like listening to some of his stories about, how college is different in America to the UK. Like, it's quite interesting. Just we're fascinated by, like, college sports and stuff in America because it's not something that's, very prominent over here. So.
Well, yeah, it's funny because, like, they don't. Oh, go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. It was something stupid. Go ahead.
like in America, they really don't separate the fans. It's kind of weird. Like you'll get like, so if Eagles fans are traveling, they'll do like a package, and let's say they're going to go out and see the Raiders this year. So and I think the Eagles are seeing the Raiders. I think that's like the big draw. A bunch of fans are going to go to Vegas, so they'll buy block tickets, and a lot of fans will sit together. But for the most part, they're strewn all over the place. Now, for Major League Soccer over here, our soccer league, I'm a season ticket holder for the Philadelphia team, the Union. They have a fan section for the away fans. It's the only sport I know in America where they can completely separate the fans, and you're only allowed to buy tickets in a specific section if you're the away team, which I found was interesting that they kept that similar in soccer. And I know in college football, I believe they offer some of that too, but there's still fans strewn all over the place. But yeah, I mean, the only reason why I knew that the fans were separated in England was because of that movie Green Street Hooligans. I watched that, and that was kind of my introduction to, wow, like the fans are crazy other places, not just in Philadelphia. You know, that was my introduction to that. So, you know,
Yeah,
I know you guys kind of get the understanding of how things are over here, because I think it is kind of similar.
yeah. Like just last night, my fiance and I were on a bus trip. We went up to New York to see the Phillies play the New York Yankees, and it was the best time of my life. And they had us in two sections in the outfield from this one bus company. Turns out there was like 4 other bus companies that ran a trip, and they were all over the place. But yeah, it's a little different here than it is over there, but yeah, it gets pretty hairy. Certain places that you go to over here, it's like I know last night I almost got into a fight with a Yankees fan because he was like looking at me saying, "Oh, you mad?" I was like, "No, but you're about to be dead. Leave me alone." So
Yeah, there's some pretty funny videos on YouTube of Yankees and Red Sox fans always getting into fights and stuff. Yeah.
I was at a Phillies game. I'm going back a few years now. It was the Phillies versus the Chicago Cubs. It was me and 2 of my good buddies. We went to the game. Afterwards, we went out. We got back to the car. We decided to have a few more beers, and we started grilling again. We saw a family. This is where I got annoyed at Philadelphia fans, part of the Idiot-Delphia Nation. These Phillies fans were getting into a verbal altercation with the father of this family, and somewhere along the line, a fight broke out. Well, this guy was trying to get away from the Phillies fans. He crawled under his truck. They grabbed him by the legs and dragged him back out, and were just stomping him in front of his family. So me and my friends had to go over and his kids are here, little kid, little girl, son, the wife was screaming. I was like, what is wrong with you people? I was like, it's baseball. This isn't life and death. So that was the worst thing I'd ever seen in person. But yeah, and the Phillies won the game. That was the funny thing. The Phillies won. Like, what are you mad about? So
should have won by more.
Yeah.
I mean, Philly did grease poles so that people couldn't climb them after the Super Bowl.
Very true. Very true. I saw it firsthand down there for the parade. But
fairly smart.
That's great. That's great. I love it. I love getting the opinions of people from, especially now, like overseas. I absolutely love it. Like, you guys are our first overseas guest, and I couldn't be more happier. This is awesome.
Oh, brilliant.
I love the fact that one guy's a Philadelphia fan. I like the fact the other one's a Buffalo fan, which I still find hysterical and awesome. But I get it. You went to school there. I get it.
I think that's what kind of unites us. Like you said, like I feel like Philly and Buffalo fans are quite similar in that they're both very passionate about the sports and stuff. So I think that's what
they
makes it interesting. Yeah.
Listen, I rooted for Buffalo, so I was rooting for them just because of their fan base. Like, like I said, I like that kid Josh Allen, but the fans, like, when you have good fans, loyal fans, you root for them fans as another fan. Obviously, if you're playing the Eagles, I'm not rooting for you.
Yeah, that's a given. Yeah, but it makes this a lot more likable, I suppose. Yeah, definitely. I mean, most sports you'll have that where you have other teams that, because of the fan base or people that that are big fans of the area, it really makes them a lot more likable and watchable. So Yeah, certainly. No, I'm just glad that people like us, I suppose.
That's
Like,
so funny.
everybody hates the Dallas Cowboys, and it's not because they won Super Bowls. It's because of their fan base. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
they
Absolutely.
are the
Yeah.
legitimately nobody likes the Dallas Cowboys,
Yeah.
and it's because of the fan base. It really is.
Yeah, like I'm a fan. Like I like watching the Dallas Stars play hockey. You know, I have no problem with the Texas Rangers. You know, I got no problem with the Dallas Mavericks. You know, I just can't stand the Cowboys. Like you said, Chris, they're fans. Like, and I get it. They got a lot of Super Bowls and everything.
They live
But
in
they're
the
just so
past, sir.
Exactly. Thank you. They're just so stupid. Like they live in the past, and that's all they bring up is their past Super Bowls. Well, you guys have an amazing team right now, and you still can't do anything. You know, I mean they're legit. I mean they are. They're legit. You know, you got Dak Prescott's coming back. For the sport of football, hopefully he's healthy because he is a good draw. You know, he is a name with the sport. You know, and I mean I don't like to see anybody get hurt. You know, and like that injury that he had was horrific. And I actually felt bad for the guy. I really did. At the same time, I was quite happy because I knew that meant that they were going to tank the rest of the season because they stink there. They were done. I mean, they weren't that great when he was starting, too, before he got hurt. They were losing games.
That defense was terrible.
Yeah, the defense was absolutely horrible. But this is what I love about a new season after bad injuries for every single team. It's a fresh start. Like, I could care less if the Tampa Bay Bucks are the defending champions right now. I could care less because the season's going to start. We know sooner or later Tom Brady, even in a wheelchair, won't be able to perform the way he does now. So, I mean, I'm just, it's a new start. I'm excited to see what happens, and I mean, it's all great. It's good. I love it. I'm looking forward to, you know, more shows. Like for me, football is my main sport. I could talk football all day long, especially when it comes to talking about our mostly stupid fan base, which people tell me all the time, don't talk about your fan base, don't call them stupid. Well, they are. Most of them are goddamn stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's not good for the podcast that we're doing that. We kind of alienate the people that we're trying to sell this to.
I'm just being a fan talking about the fans how I see it. So guess what? They can go boom.
You ain't gonna get an argument from me about that.
All right, so
I
just want to ask one question, then I'll get back to you, Pat.
All right.
What time does the NFL come on in your guys' time zone?
So, I mean, the majority come on at 6 o'clock, right, Greg?
Yeah, because we're 5 hours 5 hours ahead of you. So yeah, it'll be your 1 o'clock games will be 6 o'clock our time.
Wow.
6 p.m.
And
then the later game will be it'll be pretty late.
Yeah, I mean,
like 11 or something.
I feel like a lot of Eagles games started at around midnight last year, so that was
they did.
interesting.
You're gonna worry about that this year.
Yeah.
Now that brings up the point that I was going to ask. I mean, the rumor we always hear, you know, the London games. There's always the London game every year. There's two of them. I think they've tried to expand it. You know, that a team could be eventually moving across the pond. What have you guys heard about that? Number one. Number two, like logistically, can it work? I mean, I know teams that fly over there that play always go into the bye week afterwards. And so it's pretty much the NFL admitting that the scheduling of it is stressful for the teams. And then how would they actually get paid? I don't understand how you get paid if you're working over in Europe, you get paid in euros, the taxes are different. Like, how are you going to get players to go there to account for that? I just don't understand the logistics of some of that. So do you guys know about anything about that you can explain to me, maybe explain to the viewers? Because, again, I don't know about it. When I try to find the information, I really can't.
I'm just going to go and grab my charger. Greg, you take it a minute.
Yeah, I'll go for it. I've seen quite a bit about this, and obviously the Jaguars are the team that a lot of people are tipping to move over because, Khan is obviously, he owns Fulham Football Club in West London, so that there's obviously a big link there. They obviously come over for a lot more games, so the links are. There's still quite a lot of fans here that want to watch those games. Obviously, only having a limited amount of games means that it's very, very packed and stuff like that. But I don't really see it working. Personally, I'm very anti having a London franchise. And that sounds weird, obviously, as someone from the UK. But logistically, it's a massive issue. As you said, obviously, you get charged your taxes in different states when you play different games. And obviously over here, like with the franchise, with the players get paid in US dollars, pounds sterling, it's a massive issue. The flights, the rest days, all that sort of stuff, your training camps, everything is completely different. It's just really, really logistically an absolute nightmare. So personally, I don't see it happening. I think it would be a real sort of smash and grab money grabbing idea just to do it. And also it would have to change the structure around the NFL, because if you introduce a new team instead of taking away a team, so for example, if you took the Jaguars away and obviously introduced the London franchise, it's a bit harsh on the Jacksonville community, I suppose. But then if you add in a team, that's then 33 teams, and then you have to, do you know what I mean? It's an odd number and divisions, and it is a real nightmare in terms of fixtures as well. So I don't really see it happening, although American football as a whole and the NFL is definitely growing in the UK and across Europe. I know they're looking at hosting games in Germany as well, which is probably the second biggest, or maybe even the biggest European country that watches the NFL. And Spain as well is another one. So it's definitely growing, but I don't think a franchise is the next idea. I think growing it in Europe would be the next idea, having a European league. And I think there are talks, or they've just started a new sort of European American football league. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on as a sort of back burner, a second idea really. But I don't think that will feed into the NFL, but I just think that's something that will keep it, chugging along and really maybe catch the attention. There might be some players that come through and they're, then may make the jump over to the NFL if they're good enough, but that's something to keep an eye on, I suppose. Yeah.
Are there any leagues over there? I know in Europe where we have air bases or military bases that they have high schools there for like the kids that are living there with their fathers who are in the military, and they have leagues. Because I think, what's the guy's name? Jacobs, who was born in Germany, he plays for the Pats. He's their, he played over there. So like, do you know how many leagues are there? Is it hard to find? Is it something that you can go see if you want to at that level, or no?
So, well, I know a little bit in the UK because I did like some of my university work on this. Like I did my dissertation thesis on this kind of stuff. So there's a couple of leagues in the UK that are obviously like they're tiered, obviously in terms of level. But there's about 3 or 4 different leagues. So you're probably looking at about 50 teams, something like that, across the UK. So they'll have a slightly different season in terms of when they play. I think it's something like February, March time through to August. Is when they kind of play, just because the weather's a bit better and that sort of thing. But there's definitely some leagues. I think it's a little bit harder because a lot of the pitches and training facilities here are obviously geared towards soccer, cricket, rugby, the major sports of the country. So it's kind of harder to find the facilities. And obviously American football requires padding, helmets, cleats, etc. So you need a lot of like specialist gear. You can't kind of, put some football cleats on and just go and play. And do you know what I mean? You can't wear like a scrum cap like they do in rugby. You need a proper helmet. So this kind of stuff's kind of expensive and a little bit harder to get, but there's definitely teams out there. I know people that go and watch their local teams in the UK. So yeah, there's some leagues. I think I don't know about whether it will expand in the upcoming seasons, but obviously with COVID, it's kind of impacted a few teams. And I know a couple of them have closed down their women's team or, are reducing the fixtures that they can play because of, restrictions and stuff. So it would be slightly different this season, I'd imagine. But yeah, there's certainly opportunities to play. I think Callum was going to say something as well. He went to see some recently.
Yeah, we were speaking about it on our last episode about I went to watch my local team, the Sheffield Giants, and we were just speaking about how I was impressed with just the level that they were playing at, to be honest, because they're never going to be comparable to like college teams or whatever. Obviously, the standards are going to be slightly differentiated, but I think I was just impressed by the level that they were playing at. And just to go back on that, you guys were talking about the London games and stuff. Like I would be against like any sort of franchise starting in London or even just in Europe. Logistically, I don't think it'd work. And even just the London games at the moment, like I feel like it is a bit of a it is quite taxing on the players to travel, and some teams don't have a bye week afterwards. So it's just a bit of a hassle to travel all the way to London. I get it. It's like a business attraction. And like Greg said, NFL UK community is growing rapidly. But I don't know. I don't see it logistically working in the future. I think they should just probably stick to what they're doing at the minute, to be honest.
Yeah, just to build on Callum's point there, I think that the commercial opportunity of having 1 or 2 games per season in London is probably a lot greater than having a franchise there full time. that kind of hype and kind of novelty factor about having just a couple of exclusive games will really draw in the big crowds, and I think that's probably more commercially viable, kind of longer term, than it is to have a full franchise there. But I don't know what your guys' thoughts were about a potential move there or anything.
I was concerned about the logistics of it. Obviously, I know that Con was the one that they were talking about specifically, and like to me, like I said, the NFL already kind of admitted that it's taxing on the players by giving them bye weeks every time they come back from England. So you're pretty much admitting that. And a lot of times it's East Coast teams that are flying there. It's Jacksonville, and let's say it's Tennessee, or it's Jacksonville and it's Detroit. Like teams are. Can you imagine if it's Jacksonville and then like say Seattle? Seattle's flying 18 hours to get there. It'd be crazy. And I don't see it being able to work. I just don't. And I think part of what builds the animosity is having teams that are in close proximity to you. Having a team across the pond, there's no real chance of you ever having a great rivalry with that team. So even though some of these rivalries are new, the fact that they're close by and everything's kind of supposed to be in a general vicinity, like the AFC South, those are Southern teams, you're close. You already have college teams that you may hate from that area, or baseball teams that you may hate from that area, and now you're picking up another rival and you're kind of letting that rivalry grow. I just don't think you can do that with a team that's international and so far away. So I think that's part of it too.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, before
gentlemen,
we head out,
yeah,
I want to do a couple of things. For one, if the Eagles would play every year in London, I'd be all for it, because I went out to the bar at 9 a.m. and I can definitely drink and watch football at 9 a.m. Me and Eric and our buddy Bill went out.
I did that too, man. I got Bloody Mary. I loved it. Loved the experience of it.
Dude, I loved it. And Wembley Stadium just looks awesome. So I want to thank you guys for coming on. You guys were great.
Thank you very much for having us.
In the future, obviously, since you guys are 5 hours ahead of us, we would love to have you on a couple Sundays at like 11 o'clock if your schedule allows it. So you just... Eric will me or Eric or Pat will reach out to you via Twitter. But listen, talking football, we went an hour and 17 minutes and we talked football. I got angry. Then we talked basketball. I got angrier. So, and then we went back to talking about the great Buffalo Bills fans and going through tables on fire. And then I was happy again. So, but yeah, definitely, I want us to hook up during the regular season, on Sundays when you guys are available. Especially in the morning, whatever, like I said, I don't know, if it's 1 o'clock here and it's 6 o'clock there. I know myself and Pat's kids, they all play sports on Sunday. So, if we can work around our schedule and your schedule, I would love to do, even a 9 o'clock start time, which would be for you, would be a 4 o'clock here.
Yeah,
So,
and even if you wanted any of us to be guests on your podcast, we'd be more than happy to jump on with you guys. Like any of us here, the three of us here, we would love to get back on with you guys again, one way or another.
That's brilliant. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sure we'll look into it. Obviously, we've got a few things planned coming up, but yeah, the regular season, when that comes around, that does sound like a lot of fun to hook up with you guys and watch some of the game and talk through it. Yeah, that'd be great.
And just to throw it out there, Chris and I are starting a CEV Sports Podcasting Network. So if we want to, if you guys want to expand the show a little bit, and come across, we'll come across. It'll be great,
Yeah, listen, I know. I would listen. That's another time, but the offer will be there. If you guys ever want to do a show on our network. But with that being said, I'm going to let Eric do his sign off and let you guys go, because I know it's late there for you guys.
Yeah.
I apologize for being stuck in traffic.
It's all right.
That's all right. Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, we've loved it.
Well,
yes.
Well, with that, everybody, this has been another successful edition of the Philly Podcast, presented by CEVsports.com on the StreamYard.com website. I'm Eric Perugini, Chris Lahiff, Pat Houseman. Guys, we want to thank the at Brits NFL guide for coming on. Do you guys want to plug any of your stuff before you guys leave? Like your Twitters, your show?
Our Twitter is just at Brits Guide NFL. We've just today actually uploaded our second episode. We've done a bit of a mini series called NFL News Night, where we just talk about news around the NFL and stuff. So we're quite enjoying that at the minute. Just talking about some off-season stuff. Obviously, training camp coming up soon. So yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Perfect. Beautiful. Well, hey, gentlemen, again, thank you and for taking time out of your day. We know it's late over there. Thank you for staying up and chatting some football with us. So with that, we're going to sign off, and everyone have a nice night.
Take care, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night,
Thank you.
guys.
Good night.
Cheers.